going to hand over to Lorenz Sensei, and she's going to give me the first sequence. And maybe if you want to speak to that a little bit as well, Laura, and then we'll get into it and see what we can come up with.
I made no promises to be kind, just so everyone knows. But I did think that it might be good to start with a fairly, what I'll call a basic sequence, which could have very complex applications, so we'll see. So in the Shotokan syllabus, in the hand katas and hand shodan, we start from Gedan Barai and do a triple agiyuke sequence, stepping forward. And in Shotokan, the left hand comes up before you actually complete the agiyuke for all three. You could include that or not. And then, so it ends with the right leg forward, but I think for purpose of application, it doesn't really matter which leg you do first. So I'm going to leave it to that because I think that could be very rich. And we'll see what comes of that.
Taking a complete punt at it, what I'm looking at is two things. One, that it's a forward momentum into the technique. So from here, coming in, bang. So forward momentum. So immediately I'm thinking, for me, Zenko Tarachi is more of a training stance and less of a practical stance. So what I would do is I'm going to bring the stance up a bit higher. So maybe Hanzen instead of Zenkots, Hanzen Kotarachi, hand up first. So bang, bang, bang. Okay. Then I might try something like this. Can I bring you consider? Okay. So 3 blocks.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just step punch shoulders. Okay. So first one. Okay. Hand. Okay. Elbow. Neck. We'll be hitting the wrist, so it's not sort of generally here. I'm trying to hit the wrist joint. Elbow, so just up on the elbow, so bang, and then boom. All right, so instead of being here, so going to stop. So here, I'm going to be punching in. Right? So edge, so knee, sun. So edge, knee, sun. 1, 2, 3. So the first is hurt, bruise, break. Like this, it's nice and relaxed. What I want you to do is stepping forward as we use that hand to guide. So here, it's, okay, second hand, you're going to come up, knee, sun, bang. So usually when you do Jordan Naguke, you're following the arm, right? But what I want you to do is, because we've talked about leading the technique, so I might be, if you punch shot on that influence, so that might be an entry. It might be an entry. I might look at it as an entry point. So as we practice it, here like this, just nice and relaxed. So let's go Zenko Tarachi as is in the kata. Okay, so from here, we itch, and come up, knee, come up, sun. Okay, again, back it up. Wait. Okay, so let your hand lead. Okay, so the itch, neck, sun. Can you stop? So I think I'm even thinking, as I see it, I'm even thinking as I guide, just using this, bang. So I don't even retract down. I'm coming forward, bang. Okay, can we stop? So staying nice and loose and relaxed. The own time, just maybe do 6, do 3 up, come back, another 3 in your own time. There, what do you mean? Okay, and again. Okay, one more. So from here, I sort of feel that lead as I look at it. So I'll go this way. So Sensei punches Jordan. So it's because I'm leading with the technique. It's in. Again, we start with the hand. So wherever I'm here, I'm coming in, bang. So again, we stop. So here, and it's crashing in. Okay? Because I'm a big guy, I'm always looking to crash. I think also, if you have a smaller stature, if I punch Sensei, come on, if I punch, he's wanting to crash underneath the elbow. So there. Okay, so up underneath it, just shock that elbow a little bit. Oh, okay. So I like that lead. Okay, and in the kata a lot longer, but I think in practice, boom. Does that make sense? Right?
That's brilliant. I really like that. Yeah, beautiful.
You might be the only one, Laura. Michael Hagan. What are your thoughts, sir?
Especially if you think about Age-uke or Jodan uke as a strike in and of itself, leading to that elbow, especially like you said, smashing into. You can use your body differently than the other sensei can just by your size, but you can, no matter what you've got, you can drive that elbow into all of those strikes, and then that helps. I think it's a great way that you demonstrated that there.
Thank you. That $20 will be forthcoming. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'll send you my PayPal account later.
So let's look at it how we practice it together if we have a partner. So I might go, if you come down a little bit, Sensei. So a little bit, just so they can see. So Sensei right away, just staying stationary, will punch Jordan. Okay, so first time block the wrist. Okay, again retracts the hand and just click your hook forward, Sensei. So Jordan, he punches again. The other same hand. So same time. Go one. Okay, so I'm taking the wrist. Okay, two. Elbow. Three. In. Press in. So use that hand to guide. So again, so usually when you punch, it's here almost as an afterthought, but I like the idea that you're gliding it in. So, so up. So try and think 3 levels: wrist, elbow, entry. Okay, wrist, elbow, entry. So let's practice that again, just stationary. Okay, so wrist, elbow as a strike, entry, and just one hand. And we stop. Hey, wrist, elbow, entry. Right? And we stop. Wrist, elbow, entry. Okay, now, so now what I want you to do on that, wrist, elbow, entry, on the entry, I want you to hit short there, tatakin, anything you want. What's the counter in your technique? So again, okay, so wrist, elbow, entry. Okay, we stop. Wrist, elbow, entry. Okay, keep going. Okay, try it. Wrist, elbow, entry. It's 3 punches. So I'll do it on Sensei so you can see. And I'll go this one. So first one, wrist, elbow, and then crashing in. Entry release. Okay, again. Wrist, elbow, entry. All right. So again, just solo. So wrist, elbow, entry. Right? Elbow, entry. Okay. So We stop. Wrist, elbow, entry. All right. Now, try and do this as a solo drill. Wrist, but what I want you to do is I want you to go and see that. Wrist, elbow, entry. So, boom, boom, boom. Okay? So, vary that. Okay, we stop. And again, just relax from completely relaxed perspective. Yeah. What's a way in which we can make that a little more interesting? So here's something that I like to do. If you've had the unfortunate experience of actually training in person with me, Josh Sensei, okay? Use a chair.
First time for everything.
So sit from a completely stationary relaxed position. We always talk about stationary relaxed position, okay? But from here, completely you have to sit. Okay, same thing, completely and moving from a stationary position. Okay, so wrist, elbow, thumb. Okay, so come from a seated position. If you've got juniors that are good in king, do it from a seated position, do it from have them lie prone. Okay, so from here, wrist, elbow, leading with that hand. Okay, entry. Okay. So I think for me the thing that sticks out is that leading hand. Wrist, elbow, entry.
Just stealing Sensei Flori's ideas was along the same lines. So as Sensei comes in and punches, yep. So same triple concept, but this time as you're hitting, you then apply a neck lock. So because you're already into that position, so from here coming in, so the same concept of double, then actually a strike, and then just finishing off with a neck crank. So bringing him up. Like that.
So let's add that then. So itch, neck, sun, and then from there, boom. Right? Just boom. Right? Yeah. So we stop. Itch, neck, sun. Right? Boom. Right? Boom.
Something else that I didn't share previously.
Sure.
So the move following this in the kata is a turn, which might give you just a little more material to work with here, which I think
Please.
you're kind of already doing actually. So after the last agiyuke, we do a turn into a downward block. So you're turning backwards in the kata from this position. So maybe that could be incorporated also. I see a natural throw opportunity there.
Cool. Okay. Do you realize that wasn't in the script that we prearranged, right? Okay. For me, if we go, so again, punch it on. So you got one, and you step the same there, punch it on again, you punch it on again. Well, for me, always the thing of like that turn is a sweep, right? But I always really like the idea that when you turn into somebody, if you shoot down, is if you're turning, just the motion of turning is also bang, an attack in itself. So you're coming in and bang, or what's happening is we've got 1, 2, 3, and it's a step up, but it can also be a turn, step in. Right? I'm not going to put anyone in the hot seat to come up with a bunkai, except for James Pankovic.
Okay. Whenever I see 1, 2, 3 combinations of basically what looks like the same shape, it kind of suggests to me that it's a dynamic, continuous flowing movement. And an interesting variation, perhaps, is your starting kamai. So rather than starting from kind of a Kikite extended position. If we think about in our kata, we are taught to train the full extension of our stances, right? So that's why the kata often has deeper stances or longer extended hand positions, right? Because it's training us to train the whole extent of the movement. But naturally, we were not going to stay at the fully extended movement. So in Shorin-ryu, we have a Meotode, Kamai. Yeah, so this is it's called the husband and wife hands, hands, and this pops up a lot in our kata. So when I'm thinking about these kind of movements, yeah, I'm thinking about creating a wedge that I'm using here, either to go inside the attack, or I might end up on the outside of the attack. Yeah, so just going to need to imagine that there's somebody else here, but very much in the same principle that Tuawamind Sensei is saying there, we need to aggressively move forward and attack. What if we're even more aggressive? So rather than just receiving, what if the first movement is to intercept and punch? Okay, so this depends on how much time and notice that we've had of the attack. But let's say that we kind of have a feeling that this person's going to throw a punch at us, and we're able to get our hands up into a mildly defensive but non-aggressive position, which is basically analogous to Meotode. It might be that the hands are open. But from here, when we're thinking about moving forward, the most obvious one is if they throw one on this side, that we move in with our structure and strike through. Yeah, inside their hands. Yeah. So this requires a little bit of, particularly if you're working against a bigger, stronger person, a little bit of taisabaki. If you move directly into them and they're bigger and stronger than you and you crash, then you're likely to take the worst of it. Even though you might get them in the face, their mass and the momentum is probably going to bowl you over, right? So what we want to do is slightly move off to the side so that my line starts to intercept them at an angle rather than hitting them head on. So I've moved inside, literally their punch is coming here. I've moved inside and with a rising both interception with the forearm across their punch and then striking up to the chin. If I need extra reach, extend my fingers and go for the eyes. Yeah. So they're coming, let's assume that they're the same height as me, coming in here, rather than stopping at the punch, I stretch forward and go for their eyes on the first movement, as soon as they get anywhere near me. If that's happened, then probably their head is going back. Okay. If I'm still on the inside of their guard, I can then pursue through, hit, and then wrap up, kind of the similar kind of sequence that we just looked at, right? Progressively, I'm getting closer and closer to them. I'm shortening the mai. When they attacked first, they were setting the mai, and it's generally at the length of their strike, right? I want to go inside that, start to take control of it. So as I move in here, yeah, move in further, and now I'm close, and I'm wrapping up. What about if I want to end up on the outside, or if I find myself on the outside? Well, I think you just use the same sequence of basic structures, right? So if I find myself on the inside because they swung a punch, but I don't want to stay on the inside, then this quick change. So this is not a hard now, this is not a very hard committed block, right? I'm not rigid in my position. I'm getting inside, absorbing, and then using the softness in my knees and my hips to move under to the outside. If I'm on the outside, I can grab, I can pull in, and then when I use the hikite, what looks like a hikite position, then I'm pulling their head backwards, I'm breaking their balance, and I'm pulling them down to the ground. This then translates well into the next movement, which is the geidan barai and the push. So when we see a geidan barai and a strike, yeah, or a geidan barai and a step through, it's implying that there's a downwards pressure and force, an explosive downwards pressure and pull, and then an explosive forwards movement. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is a punch. If we pull them down on the neck, or we pull them down by an arm and it's extended, then stepping through the arm can be destructive as well. Or indeed, just stepping through with the knee. If we brought them down and their head or their body is here, then the movement of stepping through with the knee can be equally destructive too. So yeah, that would be my my thoughts on kind of the basic structure of Jodan Uke, and why we have maybe 3 techniques that look the same in combination is because we're using a structure here, an upwards bridging structure, to move in and close the distance. And just like Tuawamind Sensei said, work our way from their fighting distance into essentially grappling distance. Once we're in a grappling distance, then the turning, all these big turning movements in kata seem to make a lot more sense.
Okay, in the sense that it's not a rigid block. Okay, it's more sticking with that stop, 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 and I think almost we can even use that. So in that turn, okay, 1, 2. So from here, okay, so guiding hand each, and I'm just going to turn from here. I'm just going to turn. I'm going to punch in that direction. So with the same hand, bang, bang, bang. So that last one is here. It's 1, bang. Right? Just using that. Place away. Boom. And let's do it with Shote. Any thoughts, Sigli Sensei?
We were just playing with really the similar sort of principles. So thinking coming 1, 2, 3. We had this one. Yep, Sensei read always 1. Thinking 1, just coming in 2, and then our third one would be an elbow.
Being a fellow Goju-Ryu practitioner, do you think, Sensei, that the consideration is always getting as close? We're trying to get as close as we can. Would that be true to say?
Getting in close, sticking to your opponent, not giving the space, smothering. We had on one instance, it was what to do with the other hand. I think we were looking at Sensei Ridoe's one where we came in, wrist, 2, 3, this catch here, already sticking to this hand and then slipping. So you come up underneath, and then I suppose you've got your turn here.
Nick, did you have some thoughts?
One thing that actually comes to mind for me, more recently I've been training in Wing Chun and also Bak Mei, which is white eyebrow Kung Fu, which is from southern China. And you use this kind of movement a lot, but it's a little bit lower, kind of to the collarbone, and it focuses just as much on the up as it does on the down. So for example, if you intercept cross body, so a right hand to a right hand, then you have this to hook over, bring down the attacker's arm, and then this comes into whatever's exposed now, which is the collarbone, right? 1, 2, this hand now comes down to the elbow. 1, bring it down. 2, to the elbow. 3, to the neck. So it's like kind of a similar body mechanic movement. You just kind of lower the angle a touch. But anyway, I know it's not karate, so I know that's kosher here. But
How dare you talk how dare you train with something else and bring your experience? And we don't believe in that kind of thing. Jonathan, any thoughts?
One thing I like what's going on here is that we're looking at the kind of the structure of 3, how much that gets overlooked or overplayed is anyone's business. The up and down angle of what Nick or Nick Tom Nick. I saw 2 first names. So the idea that I've seen,
I get that a lot.
I'm a John. Don't worry about it. Especially when we go kind of feedback in the kata, it's down here and then up here, right? And then we do 1, 2, 3. So kind of not forgetting that transition from low to high is almost reverse if you think about the technique, that if you do these going into motions, you're getting really close in with somebody, and that's all good and well. But that hand is still up, then the elbow can still come down. So one thing I've always liked is, especially with the high block, is that when that comes up, comes straight down. Redirect the hand straight down from that, and then you've got more of an angle to go to the face. I know it's not going directly towards turn, but then you can just easily take that boom, and then take that person along with the ride to the turn, like with the next stuff you were doing. Sorry, I don't really have more than that.
You don't have to be sorry. That was awesome. Okay. Sorry, Nick, were you going to say something?
No, Michael.
Oh, Mike, go for it, sir.
So one thing that I thought of that Nick's comment made me think about, which is something that we don't explore very often, is, you know, you referenced the strike and the hand coming down to then check, I guess, or to press down on the arm. Whereas when we think typically in karate, we often see the end motion. We punch, we block, we strike, and we're focused on what it looks like at the end. But if you think about the in-between movements and what those from, you know, if your hand starts in hikite position and it ends here, and then your next hand comes, it has to come back and it has to be doing something. So I think it's very similar, and you reference, you know, it being a Wing Chun thing, but, you know, the human body only moves so many ways. And so I really like what you just said about that motion, because we often, like I said, that in-between motion is something that we sometimes don't think about enough, or don't explore enough about what our hands could actually or should be doing in between the motions. And so I really like that. Thank you very much.
The next sequence, and I realize that John Van Uden and Mike McLaren, you guys have not had an opportunity to say anything that I've been hogging the limelight. Would you like to add anything, sir?
It's been awesome so far. I don't really have anything more, but just want to say hi.
The way I learned that when I was doing Shotokan as well, or in even Shunryu, that down block was always, they always taught me there was a grab and then it was a break, right? But I think the more I've done Goju and touched on Kyusho and things like that, I've always found that any of these coming in for a rising block, we can use that on a soft target as well. So instead of just blocking the arm, say, we're attacking the bicep coming in, which will deaden the arm, right? Boom. That's going to kill the arm. This one comes in to the neck. And then from there, you can go to a sweep. So instead of going after hard targets, go after the soft targets. Soft target here on the arm, soft target on the side of the neck, right? So it's not necessarily just block. It's a strike, deaden the arm, strike, taking across the collarbone, all the nerves here, and a potential knockout, and then go for a choke, perhaps after that. Just in a different way of looking at it.
Excellent. Thank you. For those who I haven't put on the hot spot, we will in the next, I promise you I will in the next sequence. Laura, over to you.
That was amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm debating which direction to go because I prepared a few things, but maybe a few more hand techniques from Hangetsu Kata. We do 3 uchi-uke and Jakuzuki, and then we go to this sequence that looks like this. And the stance doesn't change. You do all of that in the same stance, and then you make a turning motion into Hangetsu Dachi with. I'm just going to turn, but then I'll do it facing this way because you won't be able to see my hands. So you make this sort of step. And when you turn, you do this with your hands. And then there's another motion there. But you're in kind of a long Sanjin Dachi. I don't know if you have Hangetsu Dachi in other styles, but it's like a long Sanjin Dachi into there. So the sequence would be from like a punch position, pulling in, and then pushing out. And in our case, we have we're using a single knuckle to push out, which is always good stuff. And then the hands cross into kind of a U shape here, and then they cross back down, and then you turn, and then pull.
Laura, what in our friendship has made you think I can remember that many moves in a row? Laura, you've got to remember that I've got a lot riding on this. If I don't do this right, I'm not going to get a spot on the Apex podcast, the Okinawa Karate podcast, or I'm not getting back on the Karate Without Belts podcast.
I'm going back to the other sequence when I have to give my answer. This one's more difficult.
Right decision.
So, Laura, can I get you just to move through it maybe at maybe 10%, just so we can see the movement a couple times, please.
I'll do it kind of at an angle too. So. One more time.
I'm going to look at this. Okay, so for me, when I see this and can I get an amen from all the Goju-ryu practitioners? You recognize. Okay, so I'm going to put my Goju-ryu lens on and say that if you look at Goju, people always talk about Goju-ryu, and this is how I relate it to the Bunkai, as hard and soft, but I see it more as contraction and expansion. And some of the other Goju people here might have some ideas on it. So for me, the idea of being in and out. So I might look at it on this way. Okay. So for me, if I'm thinking there, I'm thinking I must be in close for me. So the idea is that, see where my leg is? So in some way, I'm perhaps in a crowded space. So come on in. So here. So you're like this. So I'm here like this. And I'm expanding out. So I might be here. So it's like in, up. Okay, and using nataraka. Good. Okay, so it might be again. So we're in close. And it's this. For me, good. Bang, bang. Bang. So that's what I mean. So, let's all try and do that. If the camera follows around this way, let's all try. Just nice and relaxed. Just from a completely relaxed position, completely relaxed. Just in a completely relaxed position and up. Well, can we stop? Down, up. Well, and let's add some movement to that. So let's come in, relax. Oh. And come in. Oh. Oh. Okay. And we'll add the ippon ken as a zero. We'll add the ippon ken as well. Okay, so then, okay. Wow. Since Josh Sensei has a break, Sensei, your thoughts, please.
So in this kata, if I remember, I want to go back to the sequence of it's the Laura Sensei, right? Am I getting the name right? That showed us. You go up and then down in the kata, yeah? Boom, and then this way, yeah?
Because the whole thing goes.
So we're clearing something here. I'm thinking about these limbs that could be here that we're clearing out. And then after that, you turn like so. That turn, I'm going to take somebody down, but I'm not a big, strong guy like Tuawamind Sensei, so I have to do something a little bit different, I think, that is more in a kata that we have that's similar to this. Was your right leg forward, by the way?
It was left leg,
Your
but
left
I don't
leg's
think it really matters, but left leg.
Either way, it doesn't matter. So after I get from here to here, I'll put my left leg forward. I know you can't really see my legs that well, but anyway, before I do that turn, I want to bring a knee up. And then I'm going to step and I'm going to turn this way. Because I think we're taking somebody down here. And this goes back to what Tuawamind Sensei was showing earlier in the technique when we were going through your Heian kata. he's looking at a sweep, yeah? He's a bigger, stronger guy. I'm probably not going to be able to do that unless it's a smaller opponent. So for me to do that, whether it's left leg forward, it doesn't matter, or right leg forward, I want to bring that knee up. And I'm either going to hit that opponent with that, or I'm going to step over that opponent's leg, yeah? And I'm taking their space, and then don't worry about the hands so much through that. I don't worry about the hands so much through that technique, but I'm taking that opponent's space. But I look at that anytime the foot's going to move, it can come up, yeah? So I'm looking, like if you would do that to Pedro Sensei, I don't have a partner here with that technique, but you clear his arms. I would also grab, exactly, knee him, soften him up, step behind, and as you're turning, bam. So we have a similar kata movement. I can't even remember what you called this kata. What is this thing?
Hangetsu or seizan. Hangetsu or seizan.
Okay, so we have a seizan that's similar in movement like that. We don't do all of the same hand techniques, but there's some stuff in there that are similar to that. Going back to this, we all know that does not feel good to get hit there, right? And that's what I think Tori Sensei was demonstrating with his partner. That's definitely going to soften him up. Went up and down after that. I think that in your kata, the punch was first, definitely going to soften that person up. I think that's how your kata went. Clear there, yes. And then I would step through or knee and step through. And then it probably goes into something that looks more like our seizan. But I like the last demonstration better, Tori Sensei. I'll get you for this.
All right. Okay. So just with that, if you're all right with that, I've asked Laura to have a talk about a couple of things, but I'm actually going to throw Pedro Sensei under the bus a little bit, and hopefully I'll be safe to come to the States. Pedro Sensei, can you pick for all the non-Goju, everyone who's a non-Goju practitioner, or primarily is a Goju practitioner or style other than Shorin or Shotokan, put your hand up. Look at Pankavich Sensei, he's not even moving. He's like, these other styles. There's other styles, Sensei, there's other styles, just so you know. What I'm going to get, Pedro Sensei, I'm going to get you to set all of us Goju and non-Shorin or Shotokan practitioners a bunkai, a technique of your choice from Shorin. And then I'm going to ask Sensei Sigley to choose maybe just a 2-1-2 posture or technique from Goju kata for all the Shotokan Shorin people, if you don't mind. And then we're all going to have a go at trying to figure something out for ourselves, and we'll feedback about it. Okay.
So I'll go first. Okay. So most styles have Shorin styles have the hanchi or teki influence. Okay. So one of the movements that is often looked at as block, 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 punch is it's a sequence that goes like this. So the idea is we're dropping down and trying to break structure right away. I'm not trying to release so I can block and punch. I'm trying to connect so I can break structure and know where that person is going and how it's reacting and how I'm going to react, hopefully 2 or 3 moves ahead of that, if at all possible. So it's always about getting information, and the more I can feel, the more I can adapt to. So if I show the technique just from a stable position, I'm not going to drop down into a stance like the Hanchi Kata teaches us, but just going to use those principles of dropping and including the Muchimi that we talked about earlier. So the movement starts from here. Oh, this is my OS moment, right? My OS moment, everybody knows what that means, right? Okay. Oh my God! And that's the start of this, okay? Just a natural instinct, you know, don't turn away, but try to get your hands up like someone just threw something at you and you weren't expecting it. And then right from this position, go into a drop. So here, I'm going to drop, I'm going to connect. The first thing I do once I make a connection is try to utilize that connection because I know something else is going to come, but I can't see yet. But I can see this without even looking at it. So I'm coming into this position, I'm utilizing that, and then I'm coming to where position I need to go. So the basic movement starts 1, 2, 3. So here, 1, 2, 3 is another way of doing it. Here, put your hands up and say, oh my God, what's up, what's up? And if I use my trusty partner here, can everybody see me okay? Okay. Okay, I think it's okay. So, you okay with the mask?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So he touches me. I don't know what he's going to do. But I know one thing. I know where he is. Okay, so if I take that position here, right away, because of my training, instead of just putting my hands up and covering my head like don't hit me, I'm going to cover my head and expect that I'm going to be at the other end of this. So my first reaction is this. And then right from here, instead of just touching that person, I'm going to drop my weight into that person. That's the dropping of the Hanchi Kata. So slowly it comes, oh shit, oh, into this position. Okay? So the basic principle is make contact as soon as you can. Light contact, so it's a very soft touch. It's not give that person information about where I'm at and what I'm going to be doing next, potentially, and allowing for whatever I connect to guide the movement into the next sequence. And the basic sequence, again, is something like this. Here, roll off, come underneath, circle. Could be any number of things. We just use strikes right now, but it could be also grab the ear, pull the head, stick the eye socket, trample down on the knee. So just like if we start grappling here, very slowly, here's 1, get out of the way, 2, trap that arm, 3, and then we're here. And the only reason I can do that, apart from the fact that I paid him $25 cash money, is 30, I'm sorry, is that I'm able to compress his neck because I just climb myself up into it. So, and the reason I climb up into it is because I'm able to bring him down to my level. So all of this comes from that simple movement in the Hanchi. Here to here. So if you know Nafanchi or Teki, if I break it down into what looks like block, 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 back fist, and instead say there is no impact strike in that sequence. There's only connection and breaking, and especially breaking structure. Then you pick up your own principles and you can make your own stuff up. Is that good? Questions?
No, that's great, Sensei. It's good to know that you've paid $25 cash money to everyone who's attending. That's fantastic. So the money's not an issue. Okay, so I'm going to go to Sigli Sensei. Sensei, can you give the non-Goju-ryu people a sequence to work on, please?
We have these movements that are found a lot in many of our kata, from basic cipher to more senior, like in Super-Impe or Seisan. Just sort of clearing, blocking, grabbing type moves, paired with other techniques. Yeah, so I like to use these sort of circling moves in different ways. So maybe from a grab, my partner's grabbing. I'm looking at maybe a strike as a circle up as a strike, and a strike down. I'll grab the photo. Striking down, so I'm looking to upset balance and break. Maybe moving the other way. From here can be 1, using the circling up move, cutting up to hit around the jawline. My other arm cutting down, hopefully you can see that, cutting down on the inside, again to tip, and then turning moves, pushing down, levering up, knee strike, circling up and down, so maybe a punch comes, circling up and a kick comes, circling down, moving in for a knee strike. So circling moves this way, maybe grab again. So 1, 1, 2, maybe knee, maybe head. So just circling, clearing moves. Can be in close, hitting, or from distance. From distance. So circling up, circling down, clearing moves. This sort of way. So just these type moves. Maybe circling up, punch 1, 2, moving around. Okay, and then coming in closer. So sticky, in close. I don't know if other styles have similar moves. So to me, it looked a little similar to Sensei Laura's these sorts of moves, and then when she turned, this sort of move as well.
So that's excellent. Thank you, Sensei. What we're going to do is I'll just quickly abbreviate those two movements. Pedro Sensei, can you just demonstrate, just do the movement maybe 3 times? And Sigli Sensei, can you just perhaps, even if it's just from Cypher, just maybe a couple of times, just so all the non-Gorju people watch Pedro, all the Gorju people watch Pedro Sensei, all the Shorin people watch Sigli Sensei. Okay, so just a couple of times, and then have a brainstorm one, okay?
Good. So again, I'm going to start from a very, I'm going to call practical, pragmatic approach. So I'm not going to be in a stiff position like this necessarily. Drop the weight, start to angle the body, come across. As you do that motion, circle. The other arm comes down offensively and defensively. Circle the other way as if the body is moving, you're adapting, maybe you're breaking stuff on the way in, and then the form finishes this way. So it's here, to there, to there, and to there. And if you're looking at it from a lateral perspective, it's not staying in one place like this. You're trying to just circle in. It's just like if you were going to be moving into that position, except for this drill, you're trying to drop your weight and extend the power as opposed to just holding it back. So 1, 2, spiral the body, 3, and then if you want to go back to the very beginning, pull back, and now you can make a drill out of it. But it starts with coming across. It looks like a vertical punch, which I don't believe it is, but it could be. But it's more of a stretching, extending, adapting, especially if the conflict has already begun and there's already contact made here. Instead of learning how to do this, I'm learning how to do this. So it's this, to this, to that. Is that clear enough, you think?
Yep, that's great, Sensei. So, Gorju people, there's your homework for the next couple of minutes. Shotokan, Shorin, Shuri people, here's yours.
As the basic one. So we've got movement going across. As you're going across, you've got top hand coming down, bottom hand coming up, circling up with a knee strike. Sometimes you can kick. So the basic from the kata, so moving, circling, circling, knee strike, kick. So circle, circle. And there's muchimi, heavy, sticky, flowing this way. 1, 2, knee, kick. So clearing down, coming up. So it can be block, can be strike, knee strike, and kick. So just the hands. 1 clearing down, 1 clearing up, or 1 clearing down, 1 striking up. In some kata, we have a catch and pull on the end of these movements.
Thank you, Sensei. So, Sigli Sensei set us the movement. So have a shot at that, maybe 60 seconds. Give yourself some thoughts. Just have a bit of that. And again, sorry, we could have done breakout rooms, but Nick kindly suggested, but I don't know how to do anything like that. So, okay, let's get to karateifying our stuff. Okay, so let's go. Maybe 60 seconds. Come up with it. Do it. muted. Okay, Arm Sensei, you're representing all of Goju-Ryu, Okinawan and Japanese, so no pressure.
No pressure.
And,
Okay.
and then we'll go to, I think, we'll go to Jen, the Lazzarini family for the Shorin, or for the Goju section. Thanks, guys.
All right, so if we're going to do the, let me just get it here. If we're going to go across from the part of the Hanchi, I think of this as very much compressing and collapsing, and I want to think about ragdolling the person. So I'm thinking perhaps they've got me in like a double lapel, something along that line. We're in tight, we're grabbing. This hand coming across is going to push down. But while I'm doing it, I want to make sure I'm not standing just totally square. I want to be using my hips to start to ragdoll their body. So as I'm pushing down and then coming around again before I come up, I'm really trying to get this kind of motion so that I'm breaking their balance in the process. If I'm leaving them stationary, it makes me very vulnerable in that position. Whereas if I'm in tight, I start to push, roll around, then come up and in. And knowing Kata a little bit, I know that you've got that sweep a little bit later in. So definitely I'm thinking about if I'm in a position where I'm turning and pressing, being able to get that leg out of the way, being able to move one of the feet out of the way to even further disrupt their balance. So it really is a case of push, down, up, in, and then strike or grab. I liked James mentioning before, going to the eyes. So Kama Sensei likes that. So if I'm coming in, it may not necessarily be a strike. It may be open hand, coming into the face, coming under the jaw. I'm going to totally break their balance at that point. And if they don't have balance, they have no power in the process. It also reminds me a little bit of almost out of Shisochi, where we're coming in that way a little bit. So I push down, come in. I got to throw some Goju in.
You had to take the Goju-Ryu, didn't you? You had to take the Goju-Ryu. You Goju-Ryu people, and no boundaries, no boundaries. All right, the Lazzarini clan, please.
Okay, so
before we get started, one of the things I want to make a comment about is that it almost looked like a Thai dance at one point, the way the hands were, which I thought was very beautiful. But anyway, here we go.
so there's a couple principles I think I saw in there. One was the principles of opposition going in different directions, which anytime you're sort of wrestling with people can be a little confusing and hard to understand what's going on. So if Igor's here and we're just like this, if I try and pull down the same way, he can resist against that. But if I'm doing something different, his brain has just a split second of where's he going with this, and that may give me an opening. So in something like this, we're here, I come in, I split the hands down. So I'm doing this twist while the knee comes up, and then from there, it's a twist back. So as I think I understood what the move was, it was this to this, and then perhaps with a kick in there if you needed to. But that primary principle of opposition, getting away, was what I saw. Igor?
Yeah, probably many interpretations, and there's this beautiful stylistic, the way this was done, but without really drilling into understanding what exactly that could be, we know that this is the rule of opposition, discomforting the other person, making sure that they're not stable. And also, the interesting thing is when Bob started doing this, I realized he wasn't standing in front like this, but he was actually turning into this position to minimize his surface area and also to create an opening that, maybe you can come in from here, and then you can turn into this stuff. But it wasn't a static. It wasn't straightforward. It was more like this, which would be more in touch, kind of in tune with how the body moves, how it's supposed to move. To deflect the attack, et cetera, et cetera. So don't know exactly what that could be, but Bob's explanation works for me.
And I'd like to co-sign everything that they said. However, the other piece I wanted to say is that this also reminded me of Shuto. You just do. There you go. Opposition.
Excellent. Guys, I realize that we have almost come to the end of the time, and there's some couple of people that I want to very quickly, we've got another couple of minutes. There's some stuff that I quickly want to throw to, if we may, to Laura Sensei, and it's about there's a wonderful interview that Laura Sensei did with a group of instructors. If you get a chance to look to find the link, or look on the Invisible Sensei Facebook page, you'll see it. But it's talking about progressive ways of training. So I thought, just for perhaps a minute or so, Sensei, if you don't mind talking about some of the ways in which you kind of have an approach to your personal training and some of the things that you do.
Awesome. Thank you for the question. In fact, I can't take credit for that podcast at all. Jeremiah and Lauren Hart approached a few female instructors about putting together a podcast discussing some of our experiences being female in the dojo, and positive and or negative. It's a two-part podcast. The first one's kind of looking back. The second one is sort of looking forward as to how, what suggestions we might have about making a friendlier environment for female karateka. And me personally, I played rugby for about 5 years, so I had a very different experience of athleticism that was very pro-woman and in college, so it was collegiate athletics. And I really took a lot from that experience in terms of like trying to change your mindset about what it means to be strong and athletic as a female. And in the dojo, I was always told that I was kind of small and probably had a feeling of like I couldn't be strong, and I just had to kind of live with that. And in that rugby group, that wasn't the assumption at all. So we had a very regimented strength training program where we did squats and push-ups and core strengthening. And also, I mean, rugby is a full contact sport, and so there were a lot of injuries too. So we learned a lot about our body in a way that probably would be considered unsafe in a dojo environment, but it was very informative on the rugby pitch. So if anything, I would just say, like, for all of us to try to be our strongest, both mentally and physically. For me, that means incorporating a strength training routine as part of my karate workout. I don't consider it to be separate. I consider it to be integrative into what I do. And like, I feel like if I'm unfit, I can't do karate as well. So I feel like that's a really important part of it. And also being a stronger female, or being stronger as a female, is an asset. So it doesn't mean I have to be the strongest person in the world, because there's a detriment to being too muscled as well. So it's finding that just right amount of body control to be able to control my own body and leverage my opponent. So I'm not going to be a bodybuilder or anything, or power lifter, but like things that have to do with explosive movement, and then also utilizing eccentric movements as well. Not just being able to push, but being able to pull as well. So that would be like kind of a general approach that I take.
Thank you, Sensei. Okay. There was a little bit more that I kind of had in mind, but I know that time is gone. We've come to the end of a time, and it's kind of flown. So just want to, if anyone has any sort of some general comments, but before we do, let's take a little bit of a break and drink this wonderful coffee from this cup here. I don't know if you guys, what did you say, Sensei? What cup am I drinking from? Well, it's the Bujin TV cup, and I'm listening to the Okinawan Karate podcast, the Apex Karate podcast, the Karate Without Belts podcast, and of course the Invisible Sensei, if you get a chance. Delicious. Shameless plug. Done. Okay. All right. So
I'd like to know how you got one of those mugs all the way in New Zealand, and I live here on Okinawa.
Well,
and I don't have one of those Fujians. So.
It's cool. Josh, you really want to stand in front of everybody? Okay, guys. So let's go. Just general comments. Anyone jump in? We've got maybe a minute or so left. Any thoughts, and then we'll just quickly wrap up. Thank you so much. Really, really cool. So we can't hear you, Sensei.
No, sir. Can you hear me now? Yeah. I just want to say I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for putting this concept out there and running with it. I'm really looking forward to the next one. Really cool.
Thank you, Sensei. Anyone else?
Just thanks so much to our sensei for organizing this. I think it's really important for us as well to look at each other's training and put away the labels of style and oh, we don't do this kata or we don't use this stance or this technique so much, and look much more for the similarities and look for the differences.
Cool. Any last word? Oh, sorry,
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it, Torty Sensei. Great stuff, and everybody else really had a good time. I would not invite Michael Hagen next time, but other than that, it was great.
Yeah, that guy, I wouldn't invite him either.
Sensei, is there going to be a next time? It seems like this would be a really great opportunity to do this, like maybe on a quarterly basis or something.
I'll tell you what. If you can, holler, and yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, that would be really keen. Be really keen. Sensei, you say?
Just thank you all. I know I was in the background, so you didn't get to see me most of the time, so that's great. I just think it's so much fun. I just wish we had about twice as much time. I think we all would have enjoyed sort of playing around and just figuring things out a little bit longer. It just seemed to go so quickly. So maybe next time 3 hours.
Seconded.
Anyone else?
I'd like to thank you, Nick.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Okay, guys. Hey, thank you so much. And can you just mute your mic because I'm hearing myself 90 times and I don't like hearing myself the first time. Testing two. Okay. Just want to thank everybody so much. The idea of the Bunkai Jam really was, it's not about definitive styles. It's about getting to a point where we can actually really share with each other in an honest and open way. Everyone here has been really supportive of this, and thank you so much for taking time. For those of us who are from New Zealand, we have a saying in Māori in New Zealand, and it's called Taurodo ko takurara ka ora e tiwi, which means you bring your basket, I'll bring my basket, and together we'll eat. And so maybe that's something to think about moving forward. And just quickly, that stance and cipher always reminds me of Busaganashi, who's kind of the patron saint of Gojudu. But hey, thank you everybody. Please feel free to holler. I'm keen to do it again. I want to thank Laura and Pedro Sensei. Everyone's been hugely supportive to my family here. And keep up the way, keep training and stay positive, okay? And thank you so much. So we'll just quickly bow out. Hey. Hey, feels good. Otagani. Hey. Take care, guys.
Hey, sexy.
Be well.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.